Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Mustard Seed. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Ryan.
I'm Josh.
Join us on our journey.
It's Wednesday morning. You know what that means. Another episode of Mustard Seed. Gang's all back together. I'm going to start with a classic dad joke. You guys probably already know this, but it's one of my favorites. What kind of car did Jesus drive? A Chrysler.
I was going to say Prius.
The Chrysler. Nice. There it is.
There we go.
Good start. Nice to have us all back together in the studio.
Yeah. I was like so impressed with how good the audio sounded on the phone. I don't know if you guys heard
Not bad.
back, but it sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
I was really surprised.
No, it was cool. I'm glad that we kind of figured out that works. You know, now we have another option. Be a little flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the draft, and the results are in. Here's
Yes.
our Mustard Seed belt. And cookie draft. We're going back to the cookie draft. The cookie draft I won.
You had a clean sweep, Andrew.
Clean sweep of the
nice.
cookie. Here's the Mustard Seed champion. But this week on the Marvel one, right? I
Yes.
think we're tied between me and Josh.
Correct, but you had one more vote.
I did?
You did. You had one more deciding
Oh.
vote. You had a write-in.
Oh,
There was a direct message that was voted for you.
was it me?
No, I'm sorry. It was voted for Josh.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Josh.
Oh, okay. So Josh
was
is the
choice.
Marvel champ, right?
See.
Oh, nice.
Josh
Yes,
won
I
the
messed
belt.
up.
Very cool.
So Josh is currently the reigning draft champion.
Yeah.
So you got to hold the belt.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, we're gonna pass this over to Josh.
Can't see it.
Wear that with pride. So currently, I just want to announce this.
Guy on the ones and twos got the belt.
Got the belt, holding it strong. Let's go, baby. So we have now had 3 drafts that I've put on the Instagram. So 3 drafts that we've gotten votes for. I have never gotten a vote.
Keep up your streak. Keep up your streak.
So now is my plan to stay true. I'm going to see how long I can go without getting a vote. That's my new journey. But yeah, Andrew and Josh, you guys are currently winning. You've won
One.
1, and Josh has won 2 because you got the cereal and the Marvel.
Right.
So-
Right.
2-1-0. I'm still in it.
Nice.
Still in it to win it.
Let's go, baby.
But I wanted to talk about a little something about like how things are put in front of our path that we have to deal with. That I'm sure everyone here and everyone listening has had to deal with, and like the strength like we have to put forward of just knowing it's like you say in the beginning, like our journey, welcome on our journey, and just to like have that strength. Like on my way here, like I was like having a really good prayer session, just like talking to God, talking to Jesus about like how I feel and like all the stress that I'm going through and anxiety between like some work things, some things going on with my child, and just like I was just put it out there, like take away the silliness, like you bared the cross for us, like I can bear this anxiety, just like make it so I can deal with it. Because sometimes like I don't know if you ever get that anxiety where you just like can't function, and that's hard.
Sure. You almost feel like the things that you're, the obstacles or the things that you're facing or the things that you're dealing with just feel like, I can't, like, what are we doing here? Yeah, for sure. And then it's more like how you talked about your prayer. It's like that freedom that you can feel when you go to God with those moments, right? Is that kind of that?
Yeah, and just like that relief of like him, just like you feel like that hand on your shoulder, like calm down. Like it's not the end of the world if like, you know, this happens or this happens. Like if you're going down this path and you hit here, I got another fork in the road for you to go down, and like you'll figure it out. I'll figure it out for you. We've said this many times in the past week. We are all guilty of like telling God like what we want, and he's like, oh really, I got this plan for you. And like I always forget that, you know. I always just am like keep telling like, okay, this is like this and this has to happen for this to go good. And it's just you know, grounding, like when you just like get that really emotion and you like it's not rock bottom, but you know what I mean, like where you are hitting like you're hitting a dead end and you just feel like you're stuck. And then like when you really like put yourself forward in God and Jesus and in prayer, it just like really like it's just like a warm bear hug.
It's uplifting. It's like a surrender, right? Is that kind of what, like, I noticed that when I feel that it's less of, like you said, when you're trying to control kind of like the way things are going, and it's like it needs to be this way, and if it's not this way, I'm going to be really stressed about it because it's too much to handle. But it's like a surrender of allowing your path to be just guided.
Yeah.
Or even not in the sense of that. It's more like whatever it is that you present to me, like I'm going to be okay with it because I'm willing to accept that it's a part of your plan, God, and that it's kind of part of the process.
That's one thing like we definitely have to do. And it's like a couple of weeks ago, like we were talking about the saints and like praying to them and all that. Like one thing too is like people forget, especially in the Catholic faith, like you can pray directly to Jesus. You know what I mean? I feel like that is one thing, like with the Catholics, like that we all make that mistake of just like being too afraid to like approach God, and like you're going a different route. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I've never really kind of heard it like that, Andrew, but that's true. I guess when for a lot of people who are kind of raised in that space and you know, where we believe in the communion of saints and are kind of taught that, I guess oftentimes you may be believe like that's kind of the direction you should be going for. Like if you have a certain problem or an issue or whatever, like just, you know, pray to these saints. But yeah, you can go directly to Christ and, you know, like, on top of that. So
Yeah, I like to think of it as like an avenue to get closer to Christ. Like when you can lean on the saints or even like...
It's not, I'm not like bashing. I'm just saying it's like instead of like praying to them, you're praying for them to pray for you. Like I think that's the mistake a lot of people make. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd like to do that personally. And maybe that's something that... Because sometimes I feel like when I'm going through it and I'm just like, man, I don't feel worthy enough of kind of like where I'm at in my life in a moment where it's like, I need some help, you know, like I need someone to feel or to give me some strength.
Yeah.
So I try like, but I know what you mean. Like I try not to say like I'm relying on
the strength you can do with the saints is just like look at what they have accomplished and what they have gathered themselves, and just like, all right, if this like, you know, not that God wasn't human, but you know, you look at Jesus as like this figure that's way up here and you think you can't be there. So you look at someone like, I don't know, Mother Teresa, or someone who like pushed like all these people and then accomplished all these things. And you're like, okay, maybe that's more more realistic than someone who's way up here. And then also like, I feel like a lot of people feel like God can't see you. So they're like, going different routes and before like going to him, like testing the water, like, you know, like as an example is like you did something wrong, so you want to go to mom first because she's not you know, you don't want to be yelled at by dad first, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great insights, man. I mean honestly, I feel like that can be a lot of people's experience of the faith, and especially in their prayer walk, you know. Yeah
definitely. So then what do you think is like the best way to prevent that, in a sense of like, how do you find that it's like the best way to get closer to Christ? Because I do sometimes feel that where I can look at like my prayers and think like that God feels far off, you know? It's like,
and
like, how do
that's
I get
what
there?
I was saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like you know, example is like Santa just looking through a crystal ball if you're bad or good, and like that's what he's judging you on. But the one thing the Bible teaches is how much he loves you and how forgiving he is, and he bared the cross for us. And like, that's like the greatest love there ever. What did I say a couple of weeks ago? The greatest love story ever written.
Yeah, exactly. And there's that psalm that says, you know, that he's for us, he's not against us.
Yeah,
you know, he's for us, he's not against us. And that's something that I think a lot of people forget or maybe not realize enough, because, you know, oftentimes we kind of we scrutinize sin, right? And we should. But in the same token, we're like, oh, well, God is upset with me for sinning. And in reality, that's not the case. Like, because what it does is it severs our relationship. It doesn't sever his love for us, but it's like our reciprocality. It like kind of gets a little bit injured when we sin. So it's not like he's looking down upon us and is angry and is bitter or like wanting to, bad things to happen to us. He's just, he's working for us, and he wants us to receive the grace and forgiveness that he's always offering us. So, yeah.
Yeah. Think of him as like, you ever see the security booths with all the different monitors? He's got one on all of us, so he knows everything. So, yeah.
You know what I think about as something to kind of like, not necessarily put it just a bit of an example. That powerful scene in Good Will Hunting when Robin Williams is talking to Matt Damon. I forget their character names right now, but and he kind of gets him to break down. They're sitting there on the park bench, and he goes through the whole big. Robin Williams goes through that big scene, and then he's like, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault," and how it breaks him down. Like sometimes I feel that for myself with a reminder, like you said, Andrew and Josh, like. You need that. I need that constant reminder of like, you are my son, and I love you, and I am well pleased with what you're doing. Right?
I like that though. I like that comparison that you just did. Like that, like really just hit home with me. Like it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Like that. Like I'm picturing Robert Williams' character as God talking to me right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like that's great. I love that.
Yeah, and I think that the character of Will Hunting is a great example of someone who was wronged and hurt by the world. And was he has these walls and these barriers that he kind of throws up, right, because of all of the horrible things that have happened to him, and that causes him to hold the world at arm's reach. And that's what we do. Especially with God.
And that's what that's one thing that I love that we're doing this. So like. How I want to be the one to like, I want us to be the people. There's many people out there doing it of what we're doing with the podcast and being online. Just we're young gentlemen. We're young gentlemen, and we want to show like you can love Christ and you don't have to be afraid.
Sure, and there's just a realness to it. Like this is a journey. This isn't like. Hey, we've got this figured out, so we're going to turn this podcast on and we're going to tell you about it. It's like, hey, like we're kind of grinding through this journey right now, and we want to talk about it.
And I enjoy like how real we can get talking about our love for God, and then just like do the silly things and talk. It shows you like you can still have fun. You can still love God as your priorities can be in the right order. Like we have a little thing we're going to do a little later with vintage McDonald's toys. I bought a mystery bag of 20 McDonald's toys from the 90's, and I think that would be cool to talk about and be like, oh my gosh, I remember that. But and then we're having the same like passionate talk about like how we respect the saints and feel a certain way about the saints, and just like the avenues to go about it.
Of
and
course.
Like how, in my opinion.
Sure. I think that it's great to bring light to the fact that all things are good through God's eyes, like, and that something that you enjoy as a hobby, like, can be ways to honor your faith and to honor God just by the way you go about things. Like it's about living. God is not dead; He is God of the living, and the way we live and the way we interact, which is normal everyday things, can reflect on how our faith is. That's what I love about what Exodus has created, and I hope we're kind of trying to get through a little bit with Genesis. It's like just that constant reminder of how to try your best to live in a way that is allowing God to be at every part of your life. Because I know that's something that I just constantly struggle with, where it's like I turn it on and I turn it off. It's like I'm going to work, okay? Like I'm just going to go to work instead of like allowing God to just be present in every moment. Instead of creating a little bit of separation. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
We're going to do a little thing where I'm going to head out in like 10 to 15 minutes, and then Josh and Ryan are going to talk about Exodus. Sorry. My bumbling English language. Can't even think of it. But last week we're talking about Krug and
Krug.
Krug. See, I just said it wrong again. Jess was like, "You had Josh believing it for a second."
Yeah. I was like, "Oh, Krug, yeah, Krug."
Yeah, Krug. Yeah, it sounds like. Wait, no.
I was laughing when I heard you guys say that.
We're like Krug cut. I don't know. But
I know. I still need to find like a good like fart noise for that.
So I'll step out, but we'll do our draft and McDonald's thing before I
So let's get it started. What do you got there?
Draft. I was thinking instruments.
Instruments.
Oh, nice.
This is Josh's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You got to win this one. All right, I'm going to take notes as we do this now.
So who starts? Ryan, right?
I
Because
start.
I started last week.
Right.
Okay.
So
Cool. So this is instruments.
watch me. I'm gonna name them all wrong.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm going to start first. Number one, I'm glad I got the number one pick, guitar. I love the guitar. Not that I can play it well, but the fact I just love listening to guitar music.
That goes for all guitars, or
Acoustic guitars.
okay.
So yeah, I just really love acoustics. Like I'll put on when I'm doing work sometimes I'll do like the Spotify playlist of like acoustic instrumental music. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Number one.
Well, then I guess I'll say electric guitars. Yeah.
Electric
I was gonna
guitars.
say acoustic. Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna write these down.
I'm gonna take slap at the bass.
So we all win guitar off the
Yeah.
jump.
Yeah.
All right, Josh.
Oh wait, no. I get
Oh, you got two, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take a bass clarinet because that's what my wife played in
Wow,
high school.
there you go. All right, well, I'm going to take a drum set then. A drum set.
Boom,
Okay. Andrew, you said bass, and then you said
clarinet.
bass clarinet. Okay, so Josh, you got drums. I'm going with the saxophone. I love saxophones.
like-
That's great.
Duke Silva,
Duke Silver,
Yeah, Duke Silver, yeah.
Kenny G.
Kenny G.
During the holidays, put a little saxophone on. Big fan of the saxophones.
Love it.
All right, so now this part, like, I don't know exactly what the best way to describe it is, but so like I've been really into like folk music lately. So there's always like different, like it's a violin or it's like a harmonica. So I don't know exactly how to pinpoint which one I'm gonna pick, but I love that sort of like folk vibe. I'm gonna lean on the harmonica. I just love a good harmonica in the middle of some music. So that's what I'm gonna go with here.
Oh, that's great. All
All
right,
right, so I got saxophone.
for my last one, I'm going to pick the cello.
Ooh.
Cello.
Can you play the cello?
No.
Oh. I was waiting for you to be able to be like, yeah, I can do that. I can do it all.
Yeah, no, not the cello. But
Cello is the big one, correct?
it's like the in between. So it's so you have the violin, the viola, then the cello, and then the double bass. The bass. Is
Yeah,
big
the
one.
double bass is the big
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So the one that's smaller than that, but you still have to lean. It's the cello,
Cello.
and it's the one that like it's something about it. It like resembles the human voice. So like that's the thing that's like really beautiful about the cello is like when you play it, it like the way that it's played, it just sounds like a human like. So there's this kind of like beauty, like natural, organic feel with the instrument.
I'm going to now listen to a cello in a different light, thinking
Yeah,
about humans. Singing it. That's cool.
Well, I'll tell you what, Father Rob, he just picked up a cello.
He was talking about that. Yeah.
It's been I think he over the summer maybe he took lessons or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's
Wow.
a beautiful instrument.
Very cool. Take us home, Andrew.
I'm gonna take.
The recorder.
I'm gonna take an oval. Is that no?
That's a shape.
An oboe.
Oh man,
An oboe?
Oboe.
Oboe.
I'm gonna take a
Yeah,
hobo.
That's a fun instrument. Yeah.
He's got the hobo.
The oval. The oval oboe.
Nice. I'm very interested to see these results.
Yeah.
I feel good about my my
Yeah.
picks.
I feel like Ryan. I feel like you may have a chance this week.
I
You
hope
may have a
so.
chance, yeah.
I'm staying true.
Got the good ones. Yeah.
All right,
All right, hit us
ready
up.
for these?
Well, yeah, what do we got here?
We got a mystery pack of 90's McDonald's or Burger King toys.
Wow.
So we're gonna
This is great for
rip this
radio.
open. Well,
You're gonna have
if
to
you're watching on
describe it well.
YouTube, you'll have fun, and we'll describe it well.
There you go. Oh my gosh, these
Whoa.
are literal. These are McDonald's toys. These are things you would see in your Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this says Wendy's Kids Meal on it. Wow, these are such throwbacks.
Oh, they got Wendy's too, huh?
Yeah, wow. This is a nostalgia type of items here.
I'm opening one.
Oh my gosh.
I got
where'd you get this?
on Amazon. I got Beast from McDonald's.
Oh.
And he's got the rose. Oh,
What are we gonna do with all this stuff?
I'll have to bring him.
There are so many.
Yeah.
I got Beast and he holds his rose.
Wow.
So we got Beast. Right, what do you got?
I mean, this really does show you how cool. Like, I mean, we grew up with some pretty. Neat
I remember
stuff.
this. The Dragon Quest thing. Like the purple dragon. What was that
Yeah.
movie? Quest of
Spyro.
Camelot.
Oh, Quest of Camelot. That's a Wendy's toy too.
This is a Wendy's toy?
Yeah, it says Wendy's on it.
It's a crow. One of those balancing crows that balance on your finger.
Nice.
All right, this is a McDonald's toy. Is this the villain from Mulan? What's his name? I'm gonna have to read.
Oh,
it.
the guy?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read it here. What's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I had that
shoot.
growing up. McDonald's always had the best.
I had that
McDonald's
too.
has some
I
great
remem-
toys.
I totally had that as a kid.
Wow, this is pretty cool looking.
Yeah, McDonald's always had the best.
Yeah.
And his
I had
birds are
that.
flapping.
Oh my gosh.
What's this guy's name?
Oh,
Con?
We'll look it up.
Con.
We'll get-
Yeah,
Right?
Something con.
Is it isn't it like oh, it's gonna bother me. It's something con, right?
I guess I could just look it up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to Google this. Wow, McDonald's really had some good toys.
That took
Yeah,
me back,
look at this.
man.
This is a Narnia. You got the lion from Narnia and part of a book series.
That's awesome. That's actually really cool. I'm a big fan of Narnia.
And then the book.
Shen Yu
Chen Yu.
is the villain.
Oh, really?
What a name.
We
it
were
was
way
Con,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, why did I
It was
think?
based on
Ugh.
Con.
Okay.
Twilight Eclipse.
Oh,
This can go straight in the trash
yuck.
over there.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I can't believe that these were like. Think about these were the toys that we used to be able to get, and Andrew, you got quite that's pretty cool, man. We're gonna be our table is gonna be.
Oh, we got
filled
a
with,
a duplicate of a McDonald's little girl. She's just, I guess it's like it's called My Alexander. I don't know.
Wow.
We got
Spiderwick. I loved Spiderwick.
Spiderwick.
Did you guys ever
Lawrence,
read the
one of
Spiderwick
Lawrence
books?
Yeah,
I love those books.
Yeah, I read them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, we
it
got
was really good.
a water toy. It's Porky Pig in Looney Tunes in a TV who squirts water.
Oh yeah. All right.
So,
That's pretty cool.
and looks like we got Eclipse again. That can go straight in the trash.
This was a Burger King toy.
Burger King. Ooh, we got a Kung Fu Panda over here.
This was dated 2010. So I guess we weren't too
Yeah, it was
long
the
ago.
90s.
Here we go. We got Master Kufa.
Pat would love this. I gotta show him some of these things. These are so cool. So, are we biased to the 90s because that's what we grew up
I
in,
guess
like
so.
early
Yeah,
2000s,
yeah.
90s, or
Well,
is it
I'll tell
really
you
that
what,
cool?
It was a great decade, yeah. Claire and I just recently, I was just curious to see, like, we looked up, like, the top movies and, like, top entertainment of every decade
Sure.
for, like, past, I don't know, 50 years or whatever. And the 90s had, like, some of the best movies ever. Like, objectively, you know, some of the highest rated movies of all time were, like, in the 90s. Shawshank Redemption.
I feel like it was
all the
such a
Disney
sweet
ones.
spot of like technology kind of getting up to a peak of like things being like discovered and what you could do with technology, and
Yeah.
also before like everything just got kind of like corrupted in a way of like
Modern.
almost like taken too far, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was just that sweet spot of just so many cool things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the 90s, man, we were pretty lucky. Like thinking about this, like
Yeah, they don't
McDonald's
get
and
McDonald's
those toys like
this
this
anymore.
I remember like waiting online to order your food, and they'd have like the little like plastic thing, and you could look through it and see what
Yeah.
toys you hope you'd get.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, did you guys ever trade in your toys?
No.
You get what
think
you get,
so.
and you don't get upset, or did you
Yeah.
go back and say, "Can I trade?"
They always, if you tried that, they would always say like, "Well, that's all we got," and we got Play-Doh from Subway. Yeah, Subway. Subway Play-Doh.
What?
I didn't know Subway gave out toys.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Is it from the 90s? Is it like really old
guess.
Play-Doh?
Yeah, right. Imagine it's like really crusty.
Probably doesn't open.
This is so interesting, like because these look like the original wrappers and stuff. Like, I wonder
What
where
is that?
this person like who sold it on Amazon,
like
where they
ordered
got
it.
from.
He just
Yeah,
ordered
right?
it, found them in garage sales.
Somebody working at a McDonald's.
Yeah, he was
Just
like, I'm
took
gonna
the
save
toys.
these.
Oh, look, it's a controller, but I don't understand. Oh, but there's no ball in it. So, oh, there it is. It's stuck. So it's a maze, and it's, I guess, supposed to be a Nintendo 64 controller.
Oh yeah. look at that.
Mario Kart. Oh, and you race the ball around the track.
Ah, there you go.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Good deal. Wow,
Yeah,
we've
Rest
got
of the
quite
stuff
the toys.
stinks.
Crash Bandicoot. Yeah.
Oh, it's an M&M.
Crash-
Oh, this is from Burger King. It's a M&M watch, and I guess it squirts water. It's like one of those gag things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ahead of its time, man. Ahead of
Boom.
its time.
So,
Cool.
yeah. Fun.
We're gonna have to do a '90s
stuff.
draft one of these days.
Yeah.
90s movies. We definitely are very fortunate. And you know what is pretty cool now? The fact that like we do have access to a lot of those things that we grew up with. Although it is funny putting it on again. Like, cuz I've always thought growing up like, oh man, I'd love my kids to be able to enjoy these things too,
Yeah.
right? But now you got all these streaming services that have like everything. And I feel like when you put it on, some of them are just not as fun as they were when you were like when you
Right,
remembered,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
But there are some things that do hold true, like PB&J Otter, still classic.
Yeah.
I love PB&J Otter.
There's 3 seasons. Beast can't hold it together.
You know what we watched the other day, actually, Ronnie and I, RV with Robin Williams.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if you guys ever saw that movie.
No.
I don't think that's in the '90s. Maybe it was in the 2000s, but it was a good movie.
This Nintendo 64 one stinks. The ball's stuck in the side. 0
Yeah,
stars.
send it back.
Yeah. Along with your crusty Play-Doh Subway.
All right. Well, there you go. How
Cool.
about
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, so I'm gonna hop out. Josh is gonna hop in, talk about ecstasy.
that? Ecstasy.
Ecstasy. My brain's not working today.
Episode's going off the rails.
Yeah.
We're about to take ecstasy.
Tune in.
Da 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 da. All
right.
right. Well,
Okay. Cool.
stay rooted in Christ.
We'll see you at Topgolf.
See you at Topgolf. We're all going to Topgolf. A mustard seed outing.
Mustard seed outing. Cool. This is the first time I'm recording with you now while you're sitting next to us.
That's right.
You're sitting next to me.
That's right.
I like it. I like the belt. You gotta rock the belt.
Yeah. All this stuff.
I know, this is crazy. It's so funny. I don't know what to do with it all.
I totally had that shot on you. That like took me back, man.
Right?
Yeah, nostalgia to
I
the
know.
extreme.
This guy's, I like this Aslan. It's kind of cool.
Mhm.
I like the Chronicles.
I tell you what,
of
I just read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe like 2 months ago.
Narnia. Oh yeah.
Because I was looking for like just some fun fiction to read, and I thought, like, what the heck, no, I'll give it a try. And I was like, this is great.
Have you read it before?
Yeah. I read it when I was a kid, but I couldn't
Yeah,
didn't
been a
remember
while,
much
right?
of it. Yeah, it's been a long time. And I know it's like a kid's book, but man, there's a lot you can take from it.
Oh, of
Like,
course.
It's good stuff.
That's cool that you stuck with it. Sometimes, like I've tried to do that before with like Harry Potter. It's like, oh, I love Harry Potter. I'm gonna reread it, but then I get to a point I'm just like, I've read this already. I just
Yeah,
don't do it anymore.
Well, yeah. So luckily, it was so long that it felt new to me.
Sure.
Like, I forgot some of the things that happened. and,
Definitely.
Yeah. Like I couldn't remember the ending.
Yeah, those are good books, and there are so
Yeah.
many more of them. Like there are
Yeah.
prequels to Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
I think
Lion,
there's
the
one-
Witch, and the Wardrobe is
I think there's one prequel. Maybe there's two.
because it's funny
forget.
that was probably the most popular, and I
Yeah.
think that was number one or two or
Yeah,
three
2
in
or
the whole
3.
series.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think there's like six of them total. Maybe 6 or 7. But yeah,
C.S. Lewis.
good stuff, man.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, really, really good. The Screw Tape Letters was, I don't know if you ever read that one
No.
before. It's awesome. Have you
Yeah?
heard about it at all? Do you
No,
know
I
anything about
haven't.
it?
That's so,
So
new to
it's
me.
really interesting. It like takes the concept of Satan, right, and
Mhm.
like of demons, and it kind of flips it on its head. So it's from the perspective of like a demon.
Okay.
And it's written in letter format. It's the Screw Tape letters. And so like Uncle Screw Tape, who's a demon, is like writing to his nephew saying like how to attack somebody. And so it's interesting. It doesn't glorify hell. It doesn't, not at all, because it's C.S. Lewis, but how he takes it is like, it's just a story of this guy and like how he wants to like affect him, like how he wants to like get into his life and try to steal his soul, and it's awesome because there's like a whole progression through their perspective, because you never hear about this guy, you don't hear from him, there's no dialogue with him, but it's just his life, and it would be like how he should attack him and try to to get him to to deny Christ and all that stuff.
It's a completely different outlook.
Yeah.
I never would have. You don't normally pick something up that's like on that way.
No,
so
no,
that's kinda cool.
And I didn't know that when I first read it, but I was like, man, like this is awesome, because it just looks into your your life and seeing all the things that happen and your distractions and all that stuff, and it kind of puts things into perspective a bit. One of the things that really stuck with me was like, it said like, make sure when he's in mass that he is distracted by the people around him. Like make sure that he sees the pearls on the old lady's necklace and then scoffs, or like sees a person in less attire or whatever, and it's just interesting to like have that be like a big anyways.
It's interesting to think about it in the way that like your distractions can be like the devil working in your life.
Yeah. And those temptations and all that stuff, like how it can kind of pull you away.
Sure.
But yeah.
It is a unique thing. I think that there can be power to that, to kind of like acknowledge the fact that there is evil working around you, and instead of kind of like not acknowledging that's a potential possibility, and the fact that like you're actively choosing God through moments in your day. I think it's like a cool way to.
Yeah, and I think even just like knowing that like some of the temptation that you may receive is like Satan trying to pull you, and when you realize that and kind of name it for what it is, it can really help you fight against it, kind of defend against that, I think.
Does that ever feel, because sometimes when I listen or think about those sort of things, it feels like, not corny, because that's probably lack of a better term, but just like different in a way where it's like, oh, come on, like that's not real. You know what I mean? How like that can be like the quick reaction to it, instead of saying like, no, like I am formed by these things and I am letting God actively work in my life, in a sense that like, yeah, there is evil that is out there, and it's not just like I'm choosing what I want to choose, but it's more or less like I'm choosing Christ instead of choosing like sin in a way.
Right. Yeah.
It's different.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Anyways, so if you ever want to read that, it's a good book.
Of course I will.
It's a good book.
It was funny when it's so funny when we say, or we just talk on the podcast sometimes, and like how I don't remember how I literally named Good Will Hunting the movie, and I was like, I can't think of his name, and you're like, well, Will Hunting. I was like, well, that's his name.
No, it's okay.
It's in the movie name.
Yeah.
But that is a great movie. One of my favorite movies, actually, of all time. I love that movie.
It's phenomenal. I showed Claire for the first time maybe a month ago, and yeah, she loved it.
That's funny. She hadn't seen it.
You've never seen it. Yeah.
Ronnie hadn't seen it too before when we were dating. We were in college, and I was like, oh, I gotta watch this movie. Great movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, it's really great.
Cool.
I always love it when like a comedian plays like a serious role. Like I think it just shows their like, their skills if they can.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Robin Williams as an actor.
Big time.
He was so good.
Phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, there's never been and probably will never be a comedian like him. Like his level of energy and it's just wow.
Well, that's what was funny about watching RV again. I mean, just such a silly movie, family movie, but like he was so funny. I was cracking up. I'm like, wow, this is great. Now I think back to like all those movies we watched like growing up, and like how my dad enjoyed these movies, and I was like, that's why, because a guy like Robin Williams is like
just funny, like legitimately funny. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
regardless of what he's doing.
I mean, Aladdin was my favorite growing up, you know, and so my siblings, we would watch it, and we would always like rewind at the funny parts, you know, and just keep watching and laughing and laughing and laughing because he was just so funny.
Yeah,
his impressions and all that was amazing.
that's good. James and I used to do that a lot. Like, it was funny listening back to some of the lines, and I'm like, yeah, James and I used to like speak to each other in that way of just like continuing to like regurgitate lines from movies that we watched, and how funny that is.
I used to do that. I can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug. I used to do that all the time as a kid.
Right? Like the silly things just became a part of who you were. It was so funny.
Exactly.
That's all part of our journey, man. Thinking back to it.
Yeah.
I was saying to V the other day, so before we get into Exodus, like the 20s, like your 20s in your life, that decade has to be one of the crazier changing times in your life when you think back to it, because like I think now, like 28, right? So 8 years ago I was 20 years old. Does not feel that long ago, but when you say it that way, it's like, wow. And to think that like I went from, you know, college, being out with friends, like playing baseball, and then like you finish college and you're kind of just like on your own, and it's like that first time where you have a job and you're making money and you can actually like do things with some freedoms. And then Ronnie and I got married, and then we were finally living together, and now we have a baby, and it's like how much changed in the span of time, and how crazy, like it's just like so quick in just 10 years.
No, it is really the decade where things happen. You know, it really is. I think it's getting older and older for people, but I think that's 100% true. I know even for me, since college, I mean, the amount of change that's happened is insane. It's 100% insane. I mean, I've been through like 3 or 4 jobs. You know, I have 3 kids, got married. I, you know, had an apartment, got a house, sold that house, bought a new house, got cars, like two gym memberships later. Like, I mean, there's like tons of stuff. You know, it's like all this change, and then went back to school. Yeah, it's nuts, man.
Your 20s, there's a lot of things that go on.
Well, and it's about figuring out, you know, what life's gonna be like, you know, and then for the rest of your life, hopefully, you know. And that's what I keep telling myself, because, you know, I'm 27, and I'm at this point where I know what I want to do, but I haven't quite made it work yet for like career wise. And I keep telling myself like, okay, I'm 27. Most people get things figured out and they're comfortable in their 40s. So like, you got time. But yeah. So yeah.
It is true. I've thought about that so many times, because I've always had this mindset of like, when I'm 30, like I'm going to have it figured out. So I want to get to that point where but then I'm like why? Like, why do I need to have it figured out, or why should I be putting like this kind of like timeline on myself where just allow kind of like God to work in your life? And
if you're living, you're putting bread on the table. That's all you need, man.
All
got
good
your family
things.
and friends around you. You got a place to live. Be good.
Can't beat it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where do you like, as we talk about that, like our journey, where do you see like your faith? Because I can think back to like my past like 8 years of my life, just from being 20 on, and how like drastically my faith has really changed too. Like, do you see that too when you look back? Or
Oh man, definitely 100%. The amount of like spiritual maturity that I've kind of received over the years is insane. Because if you think about it, like I converted in college and I was on fire.
So that's when it was college.
Yeah,
so how old were you then?
So I was a
like
junior,
okay.
a junior when I converted. But I was fired up like freshman, sophomore year, and then you know, eventually as I was going through RCIA and all that stuff. But yeah, and so, you know, as a fresh, brand new Catholic, you're like, oh, this is it, this is the stuff, like whatever, I'm so fired up about it, and blah blah blah. And then you like you leave college, and then you get adversity, and you leave your bubble where you're with your Catholic group at college, and then now I'm going into a place where there are no Catholics, you know, for a time. And, you know, I'm at a workplace where people are, you know, aggressive towards Christians, or they don't like Christians. And so it becomes like, oh, this is what the world is like. And then I have to lean on faith a little differently. It's like a means of like courage, and just to kind of get me through the day. And then when you do that, when you have that adversity, you know, we were talking about it last week, Andrew and I, like if you have struggles, it makes you stronger, you know, because it really does. And so I think that's that's where I see it the most, is just like how I've been able to handle the difficulties and the adversity in life since college, and then how the faith has helped me overcome, and then has just like solidified, and it's grown deeper and more mature, I would say. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like leaving. It's like being on Bachelor in Paradise and you find the one, and then when you guys finally leave the island and you get into the real world and you're like, all right, like, is this really solid? Are we built on this or what? Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that you've had that conscious choice to choose faith, to choose a Catholic faith.
Right.
But in a setting like that is unique. I didn't think about that you were in a setting and an environment that just was so beneficial to you at that time, and how it kind of probably made everything feel like almost like a honeymoon stage where you're like, this is great.
100%.
And then it's
totally
like
was.
life hits you.
Yeah, yeah, because I went to this Catholic college, and I very early on got into like the Catholic group. So like there's a large group of students who were like great people, great people. So I never really had like an outside encounter with faith that was like negative, which is a weird thing to say, other than just apathy growing up.
Yep.
But like, yeah, I mean, and to leave that bubble was like a big realization that like, oh, people hate you. Like, they hate you.
As we laugh about it. Yeah,
know,
you're right.
But yeah,
It's different.
and how to handle it and to deal with that, as a Christian,
Definitely.
as a Catholic, it can be.
Do you think you could pinpoint, maybe this is hard, but could you pinpoint one thing that really helped you kind of through those different adversities?
Yeah. So when I was working in retail, is where I've felt it the worst. Cause I would wear a cross, and I was I wouldn't talk to people about it, because I know that's weird, but it was clear that I was different. I didn't like to swear around them, and I would listen to Christmas music during Christmas time, and they just kind of knew.
That's the telltale sign.
Yeah,
listening to Christmas music.
Yeah. But and they would just get after me about it and start saying like, "Oh, you're this and that," and all that. And so what I decided to do was like, I'm just gonna pray for them. I'm just gonna pray for them, because I didn't want to. Your response is anger and hatred.
Sure.
Like I want to be angry at these people, and I want to lose my anger. But I decided like I'm gonna try to be mature about this. I'm gonna hand it to God, and then in those moments I would put it on my phone. I had an alarm set on my phone. Every half hour I would write someone's name in the alarm, and it would go off, and my phone would flash, and it would say their name. They're like one of my coworkers who was rough or whatever. And I would do that throughout the day, and it really helped me overcome that stuff.
That's really powerful.
I would look at my phone, the alarm going off, and I would say a prayer for them, say, Lord, be with them, whatever struggles they're going through that has made them such a jerk. Like, I hope that they see you and whatever. But
that's really good. Props to you for doing something like that.
Yeah, and it really did help me. It really did help.
That's great. It's funny because I grew up Catholic, right, and never thought twice about it, and I never was in an environment that was really different from like I grew up, where we were at Catholic school my whole life, from kindergarten through 8th grade, and then Chaminade, so another Catholic school, and it was funny when Ronnie and I started dating. So we were sophomores in high school, and even like later in high school when I would just meet new friends, and I remember working a new job, I was always just kind of classified as like, oh, that kid's really religious. And I was like, I never understood that. I was like, what did I do that makes me? And it's funny, at the time I would almost like kind of take it as like a bad thing. Like it was like a bad thing to be labeled as that, Ronnie would hear it from friends or different people within her high school, because we didn't go to the same high school. And a couple of times people would make comments like, oh, his family is really religious. Right. And I was like, why? Like, what did we do? But now I look back, I'm like, man, that's a really great thing. The fact that they're like, kudos to my parents. But to hear that almost made me resist it in a way as I kind of went through life. And then when I got into college, it was like, I'm just going to keep this all at arm's length. Like, I'll be that religious kid, but it's at arm's length, Like, I always went to church and did all those things because I couldn't think about doing otherwise. But it almost was like I had to, which I think is a normal journey for anyone that grew up Catholic. You have to kind of like get to a point in your life where you make that conscious
You have
decision to
choose
accept it.
Yeah, you have to choose
And to really like let it be your life.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that I did really fully embrace it like at an early age, because I do think that sometimes it can take a while for people to go back to it.
Yeah.
Just from the nature of growing up as a cradle Catholic. So that was kind of like a different thing for me. And it was really getting married, knowing that that was so important. I was like, I can't, fully embrace marriage and be a husband and be a partner if I am not fully embraced in my faith and a part of God, and allowing him to be in my relationship. And I think I'm very fortunate that I've been with Ronnie for so long, because that's just been someone who's always reminded me about how important faith is.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. That's great.
Yeah.
But going back to your point about that, like, I think, I've obviously experienced that, where people kind of like will label you and they'll put you in that box. Say, well, this person's a religious guy. Like, there's something weird. He's a little different, like whatever.
Yeah.
Or his family is or whatever. But whenever stuff like that happens, it just reminds me that like this is true. And whenever people kind of experience that, whenever there's like that difference, like I always think that it's like it's conviction, right? It's a convicting. And so you think about like scenarios in your life where like you're surrounded by, I don't know, Islamic people, or you're surrounded by people of different political opinions or different whatever. Oftentimes you're not really swayed by them. You don't really feel anything when you're around them. Sure. It's not like I don't feel like I want to be like one of them. But I feel like truth is convicting. And because faith is like, I truly believe that like God is written on every heart, like he's within all of us. And so I think there's just that nature of like, when people see a Christian and they're not, they feel like they're witnessing something that they deeply want, but they don't necessarily see it or understand it yet. And so they kind of respond in a way that's like, I'm going to be angry, or I'm going to like try to like be upset about this because of that conviction that they're feeling, because something exists that they may or may not have, You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. No, I get that.
Yeah. So I think that that's something for me, that like whenever someone would get angry at me, I would want to take it as an opportunity, like to try to make this open to them and to say like, I believe this to be true, and I think everyone should believe this to be true, because it is true, and hopefully you can see it one day, but yeah. It's the whole like liar, lunatic, and Lord thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
if you know something's true, like you know it's true. There's no other way of saying it.
Yeah.
And if people were lying, or if people are loony, then I'm not convicted by it.
Of course,
if it's true.
Of course. Yeah, it is an interesting thing, and you're right, because I guess it may be. Because I always thought that was just so funny, and it was never anything like people were being mean about it. It was funny to hear the comment,
right,
and just to think like. Yeah. But now I look back, I'm like, man, like maybe we were doing something right that made someone say like, oh, so very interesting. But yeah, everyone has a journey, and I love getting into the different parts of our journey at different moments, because I do think that can be the most powerful when it comes down to it. Like, look at us as a society, like we're so drawn to reality TV, or even just like celebrities, and knowing what their lives are about. And there's so much value in us speaking about just the ups and downs of our faith that it can be, I think that's something that should be brought to light more, and it can allow people to then say like, wait, okay, like maybe I can connect to that in a way. So it's cool. Like, I love being able to listen back to the different things that we do talk about when we get into it, because there's such a different light. Like the things that Andrew say, the thing that you say, the things I say are all kind of different, very different in a way, but rooted in something that's similar, which is cool. Yeah. That's the neat part about our faith. So it is very cool. So how, at this point now, this is our second checkpoint on Exodus. How you feeling right now as we're going through this?
Good. Yeah, the past couple of days I've really remembered everything.
Nice.
And I think, like we said last time, it was hard to remember, but yeah, I put like a little Post-it note in the bathroom, like on the cabinet, to remember to pray. So that helped me remember. And then I've been doing the cheers to God, and it's nice. It's nice because the cool thing about this is like it's just like it's taking your regular routine functions of showering, of eating, of drinking, and then just offering it up.
Yeah,
offering
slapping
it up.
God on it.
And I think that's great. I think it's great, and I found that's nice. It's nice just to say like, hey, thank you, Lord, for my family.
Yeah.
It just it puts everything back into perspective as the day goes on. Because like what you're saying, I'm the same way. Like after I'm done praying in the morning, like the rest of the day usually it's just like dad, music, chores, stuff around the house, and normally I don't think or pray as often as I should. So it's nice to like have that moment where like, okay, I'm having a drink and being reminded of what I should truly be focusing on. But
Definitely.
but yeah, it's been great, and the readings have been good, and the reflections.
Yeah, I did write some things down through it. It's funny, this week to me was so, it's funny when you get into, I guess I don't know where I'm at in my life, but for me right now at this moment, like everything feels so fast. Like all of a sudden I blink and I'm like, it's Friday again. It's like this week just went by so fast, and it's like work, life, back to work again, it's like almost like just things are going, and there's times where I allow that to just like consume me in a way where it's like, oh no, like I don't have time. I can't do these things. But then like these Exodus moments remind me to like take a step back and be like, oh, this is totally normal. Like you can be busy. Like things can go 1, 2, 3, but it's allowing God to be in those moments. And when you're giving those thanks to the Lord as you're pouring a drink, and before you start your day and you're hopping in the shower, you're just saying an Our Father. It's like those little reminders of how you can bring God into each moment of your life, so that when things feel chaotic, or when things can be chaotic, they don't feel chaotic, because you have that freedom and that peace of like, I'm doing this, with God.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's like that image of you're busy working away on projects, and like God's like looking over your shoulder, or he's like nudging your shoulder and like, hey, like, want me to help you? Like, let me in there, man. Let me in there. I can make this a little better.
Definitely.
And
he does.
Yeah,
he does.
100%.
I've noticed that when I've and that's kind of been a focus of mine, and that's what I think is great, or what Exodus accomplished the first time we did the Exodus 90, and what this is reminding me again of. There are ways to allow just God to work in everything that you do, and it's kind of like just surrendering. I say that different times now, because I've realized that that's such an important thing to do. It's like stop trying to do it all on your own. Just live your day and allow the Lord to work as you're living your day.
Right. And I think oftentimes when life does get crazy, we can sometimes use that almost as like an excuse to like not do things, or like not to invite him in, because I 100% do that. Like when life's crazy, I'm like, I don't have time for you, God. I'm sorry, but like things are nuts right now. He's like, bro, I've been here the whole time. Like,
exactly.
Just look at me. Just look at my face. So doing that, I think even just using that word busy, like we have enough time. We have enough time. We do, 100%.
I think I texted you guys the one night because I realized it. I was like, I hadn't did the reading the whole day, and I just was sitting down. I'm like, man, I was so busy. Like I didn't do anything. Like, all right, let me do this now. And then like I was using that time to kind of reflect back on the day, and I'm like, wait a second. How many times throughout the day did I pull out my phone and I just kind of scrolled through Twitter, or I just was looking at my fantasy football team, and how all of those moments where it was like I was so busy, but I found time for that.
Yeah.
It's like
exactly.
There is that time. It's all right there if you prioritize,
Yeah, and one thing too, I noticed, I talk this with Claire sometimes too, is like whenever you become stressed about something and you're putting that energy in to being stressed, you're like you sit down, you say, oh, I'm so stressed right now. I'm so stressed by these things that are happening in my life. Well, you could have just taken that 5 seconds and just offered it up. You know what I mean? Or like whenever we have a lot that's going on, like even just earlier today, getting ready for tonight, we had to clean the house and have dinner and get the kids ready and make sure they're bathed and put them to bed, all that stuff. We had this moment where like, how are we going to do all this stuff? And then Claire froze. And I said, just do it. Let's just do it. And we did it. And we did it in 20 minutes and it was done. And we're like, oh, okay, like it's great. So if you just take that time where you spend like, I don't want to say complaining, it's not complaining, but like recognizing that things are crazy, just use that time right there.
Definitely.
The time you just used,
And it's easier said than done, because I constantly remind myself of those things, and then I get into. We had the same because we were trying to clean the house, clean the apartment before we left today, and like make sure everything was all set for my sister to come over and watch Elliot, and just like all these things. And then you're like, it's okay. Like I like to remind myself too throughout different things where it's like you're in a moment, and one, you know, you're not going to be given something that you can't handle. So just take a step back, take a deep breath, and just take it on with Christ. And then two, the other things, it's like, this is just a part of your day. Like sometimes I think I put too much like pressure on certain things instead of just allowing it to just be another moment, and stay in the present moment and accomplish what you need to accomplish then, instead of I'm worried about what I need to do on Friday and I'm missing all these things now because I'm just stressed about something that's so silly.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. And then I think on top of that too, it's like utilizing the emotions that you're feeling, right? So like I think oftentimes we can freeze up by like, oh, like I'm stressed right now, or like I'm feeling this anxiety, so like I need to stop. When I think sometimes it's like you should use that to like your work ethic, for your work ethic, or for like your physical, your exercise, or like whatever it is. And because I feel like sometimes we will freeze up, like, I'm feeling this thing right now. It's like, well, no, God gave you those feelings to get crap done. So go do it, you know? Yeah.
It is true. Something that I've found that's helped me through this, and I think this is what we got from Exodus, was those moments throughout the day to just like take a step back and then get back into the day, like almost unplug and replug. Because I did before Exodus, because I think this was one of the reflections during this week. I'd noticed a lot of this Genesis Exodus journey is reflecting on how Exodus has kind of changed your life. So it did give me a chance to think back a little bit deeper on it. But a lot of times when I would say like, okay, I just did this project for work and it took me a long time, now I need to like unplug for a little bit, I would unplug by like watching videos on YouTube or doing other things, instead of like, let me unplug in prayer and in faith, and then I can get to the other things that I want to do. So to try and like do that a little bit more, and it doesn't happen overnight, but I've realized over the past how many years now, I've seen it grow a little bit more each time, you know? And now I feel good about the fact that like throughout my day, I'm doing things I need to do, and then I'll plug God in. And it's not perfect, you know? Every day is different. There are days when I don't do it at all, but there are days when I do, you know, plug God into everything that I'm doing, and it just like changes the dynamic of the day tremendously.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's always better when we do that.
Yeah. Now, I got a question, because this is something that I've thought about now. I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more. Have you ever prayed the rosary throughout a day, where you've done like a decade and then you stopped and then you got to a decade again later? Like, have you ever done that where you've broken it up?
Yeah, I've done that a few times, and I've liked that. I like to do that because, you know, sometimes it is hard to fit that 30 minutes in or the 25 minutes in to pray the rosary. And I've definitely done that a few times. I have to say though, my go-to is the Divine Mercy Chaplet.
Okay,
so that's usually the one that I go to, because I can say it in like 5 minutes.
Sure. See, everyone has something. Yeah, great.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the couple times that I've done that, I've enjoyed it. One thing that Claire and I would do for a while is we would listen to the rosary before bed. So we would do like on the Hallowed app, or like we would just find one on Spotify or something where someone just doing it. And it's such a wonderful way to like bring peace to you before bed, and just to kind of let you unwind and all that stuff. So
yeah,
but yeah, I've definitely done that, and I've enjoyed it when I would, because then again, you're stretching it out, you're making it more, you're bringing intentionality into your day at different periods of the day, and you kind of, you know, inviting, you know, the Virgin Mary into your life, which is incredible.
It's something I've thought about, or I was listening to, it was actually on Called to More. They were talking about the rosary, and I've noticed when I've really felt like I've been in a good place in my faith, usually the rosary was incorporated in my day, my daily things. So I've just wanted to lean back into that again. And then I was hearing different tips and people talking about different ways to kind of make the rosary feel a little bit more attainable. Sometimes it can be a little bit like, oh, that's a lot to do. And there was that breakup idea where it's like you can do a decade at a time. So I think I'm going to kind of try and give that a go. I've never done that before, but just there's so many things that are available to us that can make just your day feel a little bit different in a good way.
Definitely.
So
I had another suggestion, but it's evading me.
It's the tough part. I feel that all the time as we're talking, and it's like I hear something, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, that's good.
like
I want to say that.
And
Yeah.
other things. Yeah. Speaking
Exactly.
gold, Ryan. Speaking gold.
Trying to look back and just see what I put to on.
Oh, this is what I was gonna say. So, I kind of like a feelings type of guy when it comes to faith. Like
Sure.
as growing up as a Protestant, like that was kind of my experience. Like we were secular. I didn't go to church, like nothing like that. But my mom would like, introduce the faith to me when I was a kid, and I kind of accepted it and was like, okay, so God's real and Christ is real, blah blah. And so the only times that I would ever really experience Him was in music. So listening to like the epic praise and worship songs of of our childhood, and then just like getting goosebumps from the music, like the build-ups and just the praying and all that stuff. Like that was one way that I really encountered the Lord was through stuff like that, which is why I fell in love with the music end of it and worship and all that. But I will say the first time I ever did the rosary, it was like peace, like that I've never experienced before. And that's something that like I've kind of noticed in my life that like, there's that line, I think it's in the Psalms or Philippians or somewhere, where it's like the peace that surpasses all understanding. And that's like so true. Like whenever we like do these devotions and have that moment where we sit down and pray and when things are of God, like this peace can just wash over you. And I've always, whenever I've said the rosary, it's like an undescribable peace. Like it's such joy whenever I've said the rosary.
It's cool to hear your encounter with different things in our faith and how just different it is because you were in a different like mindset when you approach those things, which is so cool. Because like for me, I had to really like re-buy into the rosary, because growing up it was just this boring, monotonous thing that I was stuck doing. Like, because of how many times like my mom would take us to different like holy hours or whatever it was we were at, and all of a sudden it was like, wait, we're gonna play the rosary right now. Like I have to sit through this. Like, but now as I'm older and I've noticed just the way I look at it now is a lot different. It makes me feel like I'm equipped to take on any battle that faces me in the day. Like that's why I've tried, and I don't do it as much as I should, but I try to start my day with that. When I'm in a car, if I'm driving to work or if I'm whatever, it's like I just put the rosary on and I listen and I pray, and it's just such a powerful thing that is like, but it's funny how it's been different throughout my life and how you kind of have to really let it form you in your way, and how that's what I think is something that can be a little bit more meaningful for everyone, where it's like, it's not black and white, everyone's approach to the rosary or approach, like the fact that Divine Mercy Chaplet is something that's powerful for you. Like, it's so cool where it's just like, be you and allow God to work in your life, and whatever works for you is great.
There's a saint, I forget who it is. That's the guy that founded Agnus Dei, that one foundation. But he said there's tons of devotionals. There's probably thousands of Catholic devotionals, but find one that you like and stick to it and do it the rest of your life. Like that's it. Like, don't worry if you don't like the rosary, don't do the rosary.
Yeah.
Do something else. If you like Lectio Divina, do Lectio Divina. If you like just praying, if you like talking, if you like whatever, pick one thing that you'll do, that you enjoy, and then just do it the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you'll be set. You'll be gold. And I love that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, that's great. All right, man.
All right,
cool.
well,
I guess we
chat.
should wrap it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
should.
we're about to head out, a little mustard seed outing. We're about to go hit some Top Golf.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
Play some golf together. But cool. Thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it. I guess Andrew usually does the send off, but follow us on. We got all of our socials down below.
Yeah, locals, Patreon. Consider throwing $5 at us to support us if you like it.
Yep.
There's some stuff we can send you. I know Andrew's got a whole bunch of merch that we could
Just
kinda
waiting
sitting
to tap
around,
into it.
waiting to do. But yeah, so I'm working on a Christmas album now, and then once the Christmas album is done, I'm gonna be back on these things and
Awesome.
locals and all that to make it beautiful and all that. So
Yeah.
check
A lot
us
of
out.
good things coming. We appreciate you guys sticking along with us through the journey. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
Stay rooted in your faith.
Appreciate it, guys. Peace.